For December, we'll have
Good. Are we good?
for January.
Call the meeting of the Oceanside City Council to order and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor White?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pillar?
Here.
Councilmember Klein? Councilmember Rodriguez?
Mr. Mullen?
Thank you, Council. Meet in closed session to discuss item 1, conference with labor negotiator on the status of negotiations with the Oceanside Police Management Association, and item 2, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation involving the workers' compensation case of Brian Banasek versus City of Oceanside.
Adjourn the closed session.
Work up.
City Council to order. Start with a roll call, please.
Mayor White?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller?
Here.
Councilmember Kine?
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez? Councilmember Sanchez?
Here.
And if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. At this time, if we could have the council join us out here in front and all the department directors for our Employee Service Awards.
Good evening, Mayor White, council members, department directors, and audience. It is with great pleasure that we present to you tonight employees who have reached the admirable accomplishment of 20 and 30 years of service with the City of Oceanside. When your name is called, please come forward to receive your award. Nathan Mertz. Nathan started his career with the City of Oceanside in December of 1999 as a planner in the Development Service Department. Nathan has held positions within the Development Services, Parks and Recreation, and Public Works Department. While working full-time, Nathan received his master's degree in Public Administration from Cal State University of Long Beach in 2010. Please join me in congratulating Nathan on 20 years of service. Thank you, Nathan. Bonnie Stauffer. Bonnie joined the City of Oceanside as a dispatcher with the Police Department in November of 1999. Bonnie has been a reliable asset to the department. Most recently, Bonnie oversaw the Next Gen 911 project that Oceanside was asked to participate in the pilot of, along with several other agencies in the county. With Bonnie's guidance, the City of Oceanside became the first agency to pass the initial review of the project and has prepared Oceanside to go live as soon as the rest of the county is. As a current public safety communication manager, Bonnie has dedicated her time to providing excellent customer service to our community. Thank you, Bonnie, for 20 years of your service. Next, we have those who have served 30 years. Teresa Gomez. Teresa launched her career with the City of Oceanside in 1989 as a customer service representative in our finance department. Teresa moved to the Water Utilities Department in 2011 and has been actively involved in the rate-setting process, budgeting, water conservation, and public outreach programs. As a senior management analyst, Teresa's extensive customer service experience and ability to resolve conflict is invaluable to the department. Let's congratulate Teresa for 30 years of service. I don't think we can. That concludes our service awards for tonight. Once again, thank you for your dedication. Congratulations. Oh, I'm so sorry. Officer Ed Lane. Officer Lane has dedicated his career to protecting the community of Oceanside as a police officer since 1989. Officer Lane has served on various assignments while with the city, including patrol and investigations. In 2016, Officer Lane became a school resource officer and has been instrumental in providing a safe learning environment for the students and faculty of Oceanside Unified School District. Officer Lane has served the citizens of Oceanside honorably for 30 years, and we are a better and safer community as a result. On behalf of the men and women of the Oceanside Police Department and the agency, we thank you, Officer Lane, for your dedication to the community and Oceanside, and look forward to your continued service. That concludes our service awards for tonight.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we also have, when they get here, a presentation by Sandag on the Census 2020. Once they get here, we'll interrupt where we are and go to them. I think they took the train, so they're really late. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. I'll go ahead and give the closed session report. Council met in closed session to discuss item 1 on the agenda, conference with labor negotiator involving the status of negotiations with the Oceanside Police Management Association. There's no action to report on that item. Item 2, conference of legal counsel on the status of existing litigation. Workers' compensation case, Brian Bonasic versus City of Oceanside. Council did meet and give direction on that item. There's no reportable action at this time.
With that, we'll go to our consent calendar, which are items 4 through 23. Do we have any speakers?
No speakers.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Move adoption.
And please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
We will go to item 24, our first general item, which is the adoption of resolutions authorizing submissions for applications.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Carrie Dale, Water Utilities Director, here to present on item number 24, which is approval of resolutions for WIFIA loan applications to the United States Environmental Protection Agency. With me this evening are Brian Forbath, Wes Stradling, and Yoka Carlson and Roth, Jane McPherson of the Financial Services Department, and Lindsay Leahy, our Principal Water Engineer. Staff is recommending that Council adopt 2 resolutions authorizing the submittal of 2 applications to the United States Environmental Protection Agency for 2 Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act loans, or WIFIA loans. The action is also intended to authorize the city manager or designee to negotiate terms and conditions and execute related loan documents. Tonight's action also introduces an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code. Staff responded to an April 2019 notice of funding availability, which made $6 billion available nationwide under the EPA WIFIA loan program. Funding was open to specific project types, such as those that would recharge aquifers, implement water recycling, implement alternative water supplies, as well as energy efficiency projects. Staff worked to develop 2 letters of interest and submitted those to the EPA in the beginning of July of 2019. The water letter of interest included 2 projects, Pure Water Oceanside as well as the lower recycled water package. The sewer letter of interest included the Buccaneer Lift Station and Fourth Main projects. I need to tell you that the letter of interest is really a misnomer. It is quite a substantial document that we submitted as part of the package. Once we submitted the package to EPA, it underwent an eligibility screening, a preliminary creditworthiness assessment, a preliminary engineering feasibility analysis, and selection scoring criteria, including the readiness to proceed. We were notified in October that of the 51 projects that were submitted nationwide, 38 were selected, including both of those that Oceanside had submitted. The next phase of the process includes submitting applications, and staff is currently preparing those and will be ready to submit the water application in the coming weeks. The sewer application will be submitted in the summer of 2020. Once submitted to EPA, they undergo an additional detailed financial and engineering review of each of the projects. During that review, WIFIA proposes terms and conditions and negotiates a loan agreement with the city. We have received a draft agreement, and that has been reviewed by the city attorney's office, and the terms are acceptable. The EPA underwriter has also clarified with us that the project must comply with several other requirements, including the National Environmental Protection Act, or NEPA, the American Iron and Steel requirements, floodplain management standards, and the Davis-Bacon Wage Act. In speaking with our underwriter at EPA, we anticipate that the documents will close for the water loan in approximately 4 months, or the beginning of April 2020. Tonight's action also includes introduction of an ordinance to provide direct statutory authority in the municipal code to provide the note in connection with the loan and to issue revenue bonds necessary for completion of the projects under consideration. The WIFIA loans may be used to fund up to 49% of the project costs. And in Oceanside's letter of interest for water, it included the funding amount shown here for Pure Water Oceanside as well as the lower recycled water projects. The letter of interest for the sewer also included the Buccaneer Pump Station and Fourth Main at $42.6 million. Staff will be submitting 2 separate applications, one for water, one for sewer. The total funding requested is $57 million for the water utility and includes an annual estimated payment of $2.7 million. For the sewer utility is $47 million with an annual payment of $2.2 million. Each application must be accompanied by a $100,000 application fee, which reimburses EPA for legal, engineering, and financial advisory services related to reviewing the application. There's also a credit processing fee of $250,000 per application, and this also reimburses EPA for any additional costs associated with processing the loan. If we were to issue a comparable amount of debt through a bond, those costs would be approximately $400,000 for a $100 million bond issuance. We see savings in the favorable interest rate that WIFIA offers. That interest rate is no less than the yield on the U.S. Treasury securities of a similar maturity to that of the WIFIA credit assistance at the time that the loan is finalized. The current rate today is 2.29% for WIFIA. Under a similar bond issuance, for instance, the bond that was issued for the pool, the rate was 3.46%. If we compared those two interest rates with a $57 million debt issuance for the water utility over a 30-year payback term, under the WIFIA loan, the total interest is $22 million, and under a municipal bond is $35 million. So over a 30-year term, there's a savings of $13 million, or approximately $434,000 per year. For the sewer utility, for a $47 million issuance with WIFIA, the interest is $18 million. With a bond, it would be $29 million. So a savings of $10 million over the 30-year term, or $358,000 per year. Staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the two resolutions authorizing submittal of the applications, authorize the city manager or designee to negotiate the terms and conditions, and to execute related loan documents, and to introduce an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code. With that, our team is available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any public? No public. Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you. And how often do they offer these kind of terms for loans in funding water projects? How often does it happen?
Councilmember Sanchez, honorable council members, my understanding is that this is the third time that WIFIA has had an offering, and they have completed the loan documents for 13 projects during those issuances.
Right. So it hasn't really been very often that they've offered this kind of loan to cities like ours.
Correct.
Yeah. And it was pretty competitive for California. We were one of, 13?
I don't know the total number of projects that were approved in California. I think we're 2 of 3 in San Diego County.
Oh, well. Well, it seems we're on track with our water projects. This is something that we have been planning and thinking about, and reaching our goal of 50% for providing our own water resources. So it does come at a really opportune time. So I am going to move that we adopt the 2 resolutions. And I know that the costs have been taken into consideration with respect to the water rates that we just approved. So this is a difficult time, but I think that what we need to do is, make sure that the community understands that these projects that are pretty expensive are going to get us to the point where we will be able to have our own water sources, and will infiltrate us from the higher costs later on from the water authority. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Klein?
I think the Pure Water Project's important. The fact that we are one of the only municipalities in the county to have that aquifer to be able to take advantage of this. And I think water instability is probably one of the most pressing issues long term. I think we forget about it after we have a couple of wet years. But, and then also, I mean, not only is the project important, but I mean, we're saving, Ms. Dale, we're saving $23 million just on doing the WISC loan as opposed to a standard bond.
Correct.
So, and what, we just recently raised water rates. What could that $23 million be used for in the future as we go over this 30 years?
Well, we still need to do some some fine-tuning of how that looks on the long-term financial projections, but ultimately that decreases the amount that we may need to raise rates in the future. So we'll see savings in the long term.
I think that's, this is a good strategy. We are working, I know city staff is working hard to not have to raise rates and looking at every available funding option so we can save money where we can, get the project going, and keep our rates stable. So thank you. And I second Councilwoman Sanchez's motion.
Deputy Mayor Feller. Thank you. The issue for us is the stability of our system, I think, and we are, we may never get to 210,000 people, but in this, something's going to happen in the future to have to upgrade the sewers and the water and the sewer lines and increase capacity, but I think you're doing an outstanding job of seeing into the future. You look at San Diego and they say, oh, well, we were going to fix that pipeline in the coming budget. Well, as 2.5 feet of water rolling down through a golf course because of a broken line. So we want to be prepared, and so I thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Mullen.
Okay, you have the two resolutions, but we're also introducing the ordinance amending the municipal code. This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 2 by the addition of Section 2.53 to provide procedures for the sale and issuance of revenue bonds. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0. We're at item 25, which is approval of plans and specifications for the Pure Water Advanced Water Purification Facility. We'll start with Lindsay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Lindsay Leahy, Water Utilities Department, Principal Water Engineer. Tonight we're here to discuss the Pure Water Oceanside Advanced Water Purification Facility Contract Award. Staff recommends that City Council approve plans and specifications for the Pure Water Oceanside Advanced Water Purification Facility, award a contract in an amount not to exceed $54,815,000 to Shimmick Construction Company, approve a professional services agreement with Parsons in the amount not to exceed $4,248,870 for construction management services of the contract, and approve an Amendment 1 for professional service agreement with Tetra Tech in the amount of $1,038,235 for engineering support during construction. So how we got here, about 10 years ago, City Council in a workshop gave the Water Utilities Department a goal to increase our local water supply to 50% by the year 2030. Currently, we import just under 90% of our water for the city, and we currently use about 10% of our local supply, or 10% of our supply is a local supply provided by our groundwater basin. After the first phase, which is this phase that you're seeing here tonight, we would be decreasing our imported water to about 67%, and by the year 2030, the plan is to decrease that local supply, or that imported water, to 44%, and increasing our local supply to about 56%. So there's multiple phases in this Pure Water project. Phase 1 was the design of the project itself. Phase 2 actually consists of 5 separate construction contracts. 2A is the Advanced Water Purification Facility and San Luis Rey modifications. 2B1 and 2B2 are both pipeline contracts from the San Luis Rey plant to the injection wells. 2C is the injection well construction itself, and 2D is the monitoring wells for the project. The overall footprint of the project extends from our San Luis Rey water reclamation facility off of North River Road. As you can see on the image, it's at the north end or the top of that image. The advanced water purification facility is shown with the green square at the top of that image. The green line outlines the conveyance pipeline, which leads to the green and white circles towards the bottom of the image, which represents the injection well location. You'll see there's a blue and white circle that represents one of the 3 monitoring wells for the project. The other 2 monitoring wells are just outside this image. So tonight's project, what we're bringing before you is the Phase 2A Advanced Water Purification Facility and San Luis Rey modifications. What that includes is equipping our San Luis Rey Plant 2 facilities, constructing the Advanced Water Purification Treatment Plant, and constructing the Advanced Water Purification Pump Station. Here's a closer look at our San Luis Rey facility. The areas outlined with just the blue outline show that there's existing infrastructure that we built back in the early 2000s to anticipate the future flows into the plant for future water use. Those facilities were never outfitted with equipment and haven't been used. We would, in this project, be equipping those facilities with the equipment needed to treat the water for the project and be able to use the existing civil and structural infrastructure that's there. The dark blue square towards the bottom is currently was used as a reservoir, and that's going to be the location of the future advanced water treatment or advanced water purification facility. This is a look of a computer rendering of the future advanced water purification facility, as well as an image of the existing administrative building at San Luis Rey. So Pure Water Oceanside as a whole is a much larger process than what we're seeing tonight. There's multiple steps and stages in that process. The advanced water purification facility itself is just looking at stages 1 through 3 of this, which I'll kind of glance over, which is filtration, reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, and advanced oxidation, and I'll expand on these in a future slide. Once that water leaves the treatment plant, we are then going to be injecting the advanced treated water into the groundwater aquifer. That water travels through the aquifer for about 6 to 7 months, where we will later pull it out of the groundwater or ground and treat it at our existing Mission Basin groundwater purification facility. This is what we currently use to pull out the groundwater and treat it and provide to the citizens and the community of Oceanside. And that facility will just continue to be used. So for the advanced purification system, what that entails is 3 additional steps. We take the recycled water that's currently being provided from San Luis Rey, and we put it through a microfiltration process. What this does is remove any particles 300 times smaller than the human hair from the water. It then advances to a reverse osmosis process, which removes any particles 100 times smaller than a human hair. This is similar to what we see at desalination plants. It removes salts, viruses, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and other items from the water. The final step of this advanced purification process is the ultraviolet light advanced oxidation. And what this does is essentially polishes the water and kills off any remaining organics that could be in the water. These are similar processes as used for baby food jars and medical equipment to sterilize those items. So it's well known in the industry and it's highly reliable. Because this is a new project for the City of Oceanside, the department has began a very in-depth outreach program throughout the city. We have taken on 12 speakers' presentations at different community groups. We held a World of Water Day at San Luis Rey, where we introduced the project with our informational video to over 500 attendees, as well as gave tours of the facility and the future expansion of the site. We have provided 4 or 5 public tours to the community as requested, and we plan to start tours in 2020 to the Oceanside schools. Additionally, we've been included in over 10 media coverage stories in print as well as on live TV. And we've sent out public surveys and received over 500 responses about the project. And these community outreach efforts will continue through construction and into implementation of this project. So how we got here. After the goal was given to us, we took an endeavor to look into a recycled water master plan and what that would look like for the city of Oceanside. From that, we also proceeded with looking into an indirect potable reuse study, which is essentially what pure water is indirect potable reuse. At the same time, we also looked at the harbor desalination feasibility study. And as you can see, those all kind of finished in 2015, 2016, 2017. So we really wanted to look at what our options were. From the results of the 2016 and 2017 studies, it was decided to move forward with indirect potable reuse because it was a less expensive option to the utility and to its ratepayers. Harbor desalination is still a very viable option for the city if it chooses to increase its local supply beyond the 50%. That is our current goal. However, due to costs, it's recommended to proceed at a later date. So from that time, we, in 2018, issued a professional services agreement with Tetra Tech for the design of Pure Water Oceanside. In December of 2018, Planning Commission adopted our mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program and approved our conditional use permit for Pure Water Oceanside. October of 2019, we advertised the advanced water purification facility for bid, and in November of 2019, we opened our public bid. Another thing that occurred during this time frame was the approval of Senate Bill 606. And what this looks at is the urban water use calculations and the state mandating how much water each city can use and how that water is calculated. One of the stipulations in that Senate bill is there is a bonus incentive for potable reuse facilities, and whether they're considered new or existing, you get a different bonus incentive. So for a new facility, you only get 10% of a bonus incentive in that calculation. For an existing facility, you get an extra 5%. And I'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But what makes up an existing facility? An existing facility has an environmental document that's approved no later than January 1st, 2019, which we did in December of 2018. And it has an operational facility no later than January 1st, 2022. So that 2022 date is our next deadline that we're trying to hit and our big target. We've calculated that with this urban water objective, what that would mean is that the city, if we did not make that 2022 date, that the city would have to increase our water conservation efforts within the utility and within the city boundaries. And what that could cost is up to $350,000 per year in perpetuity due to these additional conservation efforts that we have to implement. So again, that is one of our main goals, is trying to get the project online by January 1st, 2022 and avoid those $350,000 per year expenses to the utility. So as I mentioned, in November of 2019, we opened bids publicly and we received 3 bids, with Shimmick Construction Company being the apparent low bidder at $54,815,000. The engineer's estimate was calculated at $48 million, and so the discrepancy between those, between the bid, the low bid, and the engineer's estimate, one is the early completion incentive payments. In part of this contract, in order to meet that January 1st, 2022 date, we have included an early incentive payment. That if the contractor completes the project, for every day they complete it early before that January 1st date, they can receive an additional $23,500 for a maximum of $2 million incentive. On the alternate end, we've included a very high liquidated damage, which is not normally included. If the contractor misses that date by even a day, that high liquidated damage is a $2 million flat fee that the contractor would owe to the city for missing that date. And how we came up with that calculation is that's approximately 4 years of that of that fee that we would be paying due to missing the Senate Bill 606 deadline. So that's $350,000 over 4 years. The other discrepancy is there's additional intricate soils work that could have resulted in additional costs to the contract, as well as a vibrant construction market. There's a lot of work out there, and contractors can kind of pick and choose what they want to bid on. That being said, all 3 bids that were received were deemed competitive as well as responsive. The anticipated schedule for the project is a contract award as of tonight. Notice to proceed on January 2nd, 2020, with authorization for the contractor to mobilize and begin work on January 3rd, 2020. The advanced water purification facility to be online by January 1st, 2022, with a contract completion date of July 6th, 2022. And just to address the discrepancy between those 2 dates, the facility needs to be online and producing water by January 1st. However, there could be ancillary work like architecture, landscaping, other items that the contractor can complete after that January 1st date. As far as construction management, staff issued a request for proposals and received 2 proposals for the work. Interviews were conducted in November of both firms, and Parsons was ranked the highest based on qualifications as well as had lowest cost. The overall cost breakdown of the project, quite detailed, so I'll try to walk you through it. On the top line, the current Phase 2 of Pure Water Oceanside, the project as a whole, has an appropriated budget of just under $27.7 million, with future appropriations as depicted in our budget projections of $33.5 and $14.5 million per the upcoming fiscal years. For Phase 2A, the project costs, as we've discussed, for construction with Shimmick of $54.8 million, a construction contingency of 10%, construction management for Parsons of $4.2 million, engineering support during the project, as well as an estimated continued community outreach, totaling a project total for Phase 2A of $65,783,605. With the assumed appropriated or anticipated appropriated budget in the future fiscal years, this shows that we will have a remaining $10 million in the project account. The overall funding sources for the project as a whole, not just Phase 2A, is that we have been awarded a integrated regional water management grant of $3.115 million. We have $33.8 million in our fixed asset fund balance. As discussed in our previous item, an EPA WIFIA loan of $38.8 million, as well as we've applied and requested $12.4 million from the Bureau of Reclamation WIND grant. And I want to note that any money that comes from that Bureau of Reclamation WIND grant will directly offset any funds that we use from the fund balance. With that, staff recommends that City Council approve plans and specifications for the Pure Water Oceanside Advanced Water Purification Facility, award a contract to Shimmick for $54,815,000, approve a professional service agreement with Parsons for $4,248,870, and approve Amendment 1 with Tetra Tech for $1,038,235. And we're available for any questions.
Thank you. Any public?
No public.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Well, this is a historic event today, isn't it? And I want to thank the Oceanside public for supporting this. I mean, by not having anybody here saying we shouldn't be going down this road. Of course, we have been making our way to this point, and it's exciting that we are really being innovative and really, moving into the future. So this is, as I said, a really historic, wonderful time for us. For the citizens of Oceanside, I want to congratulate the citizens for, listening to these conversations and realizing how critical this is, because we are, in fact, water is the most precious resource that we have here. So I'm going to go ahead and move approval of the plans and specifications and approve the agreements.
Deputy Mayor Feller?
I'll second that. You said, Lindsay, in the presentation, you got 500 responses back, and that is out of how many? Is that citywide, 60,000?
Deputy Mayor Feller, Honorable Mayor, City Council, I believe that we included the survey in our bill inserts as well as online, and so we received over 500 responses.
But it was out of the total building within the city?
So over 45,000 in the bill inserts,
okay.
yeah.
And the gap between approval in December of 2018 to going out for bid is that crucial that it was 11 months between the approval and going out to bid? Is that a critical time? I mean, would it have affected the timeline for finishing everything before the?
Deputy Mayor Feller, Honorable Mayor, City Council, we have expedited and really been pushing the schedule on the designers for this whole project from the beginning. The project, when it was submitted to Planning Commission in December of 2018, was like between a 30 and 60% design for the facility, and really looks at the concepts of the project and the environmental impact, as well as how it will impact the city and the neighbors. So the design continued for those 11 months, as well as issuing for bid and other permits.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the hard work you've